at getting this thing off the ground. But let's go back to the beginning. So what are demons? Well, growing up, I always associated demons as the fallen angels, and that's not that far off to think that. But it's not. It's not actually the case. But it is the offspring of that. And so what are we talking about when we say that they're the fallen angels? Well, let's go back to Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6. And what we have in Genesis 6 is, obviously we know that the fallen angels, what are the fallen angels? Well, they're the 1/3 angels that followed Lucifer in his rebellion, right? Satan was Lucifer. Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28. He was with the Lord. He led worship, and he rebelled. He wanted to be like the Most High. And okay, rebellion takes place. He is cast out of heaven, and 1/3 of the angels follow him. All right. So we see those 1/3 angels, fallen angels. We see them show up in Genesis chapter 6. It's the first place we see them show up, like in our Bible, like in order of reading it. Okay. And so they show up as sons of God, which is interesting. We don't have time to get into all of this, but we said that devils, saying that there are multiple devils, is not that big of a deal because they're connected with the devil, just like we're the sons of God connected to the Son of God. Well, these fallen angels had that same title at one time. And they had that because they were to bring glory to the Lord at one time before the fall, before the fall of Lucifer and this 1/3 took place. Okay, so but they show up here in Genesis 6. And we see that this is where they come and they mingle with the daughters of men. All right. So it says Genesis 6, verse 1, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. All right. Boom. Then out of nowhere, okay, well, verse 3, it says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. Okay, so he's not happy about that. So the Sethite theory that people believe, like Schofield was popular by saying, or I think he popularized it, but the sons of God here was Seth's ancestors. The genealogy of Seth doesn't make sense because, for one, when you run the references on sons of God in the Old Testament, it's going to run you to Job. And these same guys are coming with Satan to the throne of God to consider causing havoc and eventually causing havoc on Job. Okay. This is not the line of Seth. All right. These are fallen angels. Also, we know that because as soon as the sons of God take themselves and the daughters of men to be married, the Lord's not happy about it. If they're a godly line, I'm not sure why that would be the case, why he would be so disapproving of that. But then verse 4, the third reason we know that's not the case is because what comes of this marriage, their offspring is giants. And godly men don't make giants, but fallen angels do. All right. And so verse 3, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. So these giants come from those the offspring of the 1/3 angels that fell. And so were they 100%? Were these giants? Were these giants fallen angels? Well, no. They were part of that. They were 50% that. They were 50% offspring of the fallen angels, and they were 50% human because the daughters of men were their mothers. And so how do we know? You're like, well, Dylan, that doesn't tell me that that doesn't tell me that these are the sons of Old Testament sons of God or the fallen angels, or why can you say they're not the demons of today? Well, because in Jude later on, it describes this event, and then it describes what God did to them because of this. And so Jude verse 6, it says, and the angels, which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. And so he's talking about these angels, because that's what they were, angels that rebelled. They kept not their first estate. They left their own habitation. So they left where they were at, but they left everything. They left their own gene pool, if you will. And because of that, he's reserved those third of angels in chains that are under darkness until the day that they're judged. So they're actually, that 1/3 that fell, they're not active. So that's how we know that they're not that. But so what are the demons? Okay, well, they're what came of these giants. And so the popular word that we always use is Nephilim. And what that simply is, that Nephilim is not it's not a Bible term. But what Nephilim simply is it is the spirit of these giants after they die. Okay, so man has a spirit. And what's interesting is Ecclesiastes says that after a man dies, the spirit of man goes back to the Lord. And then that's kind of hard to understand. I don't want to dive too much into that, but the Lord gave spirit. Okay. And so the spirit of man goes back to the Lord. Obviously, if a man's lost, though, his soul, he's going to hell. But we have spirit. Well, the problem with these giants is they were half fallen angel. And so they have this spirit that is connected with that entity, if you will, whatever the right word to use there is, that gene pool. They have a spirit that's connected with that. And so when these men died, man, that spirit had to go somewhere. It certainly wasn't going back to the Lord, because it wasn't the Lord's. The Lord didn't give it. The Lord didn't approve of what happened. So